Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crossing Route Show. I am Sunny Cadwallader, better known as Chica, and of course, I am joined by my cohort, my partner in crime, the one, the only, Nick Paulenich. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going, Sonny?
It is going.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll even clap for you, Nick. I'll even clap for you. It's been a couple
Nice.
weeks. It's been a couple weeks since we've talked, huh?
It has been, and a lot has gone on. We've lost a Heisman candidate. A lot's been going on. So,
If I
um,
could play taps, I would play taps right now.
yeah.
Lost the Heisman candidate. Hey, we haven't talked in a couple of weeks. What have you were in Chicago last week? What were you doing in Chicago, Nick?
I was doing a little bit of work from my other job, my
The
real
paying
job, I
gig.
guess. Yeah,
Your
my
paying
pay, the
gig.
pay, yeah, the pay the bills job. So,
I know that
so
those paying jobs just seem to get in the way of what we like to really
yeah,
do and talk about, don't they?
yes, they do. So otherwise, we would have been talking earlier this week. But airports sometimes aren't very conducive to, especially O'Hare.
Oh,
So
that I think I've been through there once, and I no, I'm that was it. I've lived. I'm done. I don't want to go through there again.
I was going to say that's enough.
Yes, once is enough. And
Yeah.
if you're listening to our show, you cannot see us, but Nick is sporting his home team, his hometown. Nick is in Michigan, but I dare to ask, Nick, did you wear that Ohio State shirt out and about, or do you wear Ohio State stuff out and about in the lovely state of Michigan?
I do. You get hassled. Although the Michigan fans, they're a little bit more tempered right now. The Michigan State fans, they're looking forward to the big game in November. But the Michigan fans right now, they're just not happy with things. So they still hate Ohio State, but right now it's just they're focusing on a lot of their own issues right now. So
Speaking of which, good segue. We didn't even plan that out when we were talking about the show ahead of time. How goes things in the big house? How goes things in Michigan land, Mr. Paulenich?
well, they did get a win. It wasn't very pretty. They last week they beat Penn State 18-15, but a win's a win.
Woohoo!
Um, they had this week they've been the AD Dave Brandon actually today was in the paper. They've been meeting with the Board of Regents. They're doing a lot of reviewing, especially after the whole head injury debacle. And one of the things they've announced is kind of an olive branch to the students who are protesting or really angry at him, that they're going to cut prices for the student tickets next year. So
Wow.
they're trying to mend some fences with the students for next year because they've been down on the student attendance has been fairly low this year as compared to in the past. So that's been one of the issues in,
So,
in Ann Arbor.
yeah. Do you think at least, I mean, I thought Penn State had much improved. Obviously not. If they lose to Michigan, that's just my personal perspective. But has Hoke bought himself some more time with that? And where does Devin Gardner stand right now? Because I remember watching a little bit of that game last week, and he was gutting it out as much as he could before. What's the other kid's name? The third string?
Oh, Bellamy.
Yeah, didn't he come
Bellamy,
in? He
yeah,
came in for a
yeah,
little bit.
he played for a little bit, and he hadn't thrown a pass, I think, in like 3 years, or at least since 2012, and he played a little bit. I think last week, the Penn State game was. I think that folks looked at it as Penn State wasn't that good. The next game is Michigan State. Obviously, the tables have really turned in that rivalry.
Hmm.
Um, if I think it would take for Hoke to really kind of put himself in a better position, he would need an upset against Michigan State and a
Hmm.
win against Ohio State. Then I think you're talking. Obviously, that's a lot to ask of, but I think that's probably what it's going to look like for him to probably come back next year.
And since we also last talked, since it has been 2 weeks, as you can tell, I'm done talking Big Ten because it's the Big Ten. You know me and my Pac-12 bias, but we're not talking Pac-12 yet. We've had a change at the top of the rankings, Nick, and these last 2 weekends have just they've been terrific as far as compelling, come from behind games, surprises on the field. What do you make of our current top five standings, and especially number one?
I mean, if somebody had told you that at some point Mississippi State and Mississippi would be two of the top three teams, and Baylor would be number four,
Yes.
even like 5 years ago, you would look at somebody like they were crazy. I mean, these were the two bottom feeders in the SEC West. Baylor, before Art Briles came in, same deal in the Big 12, and now, I mean, we could be looking at maybe a national championship with one of these. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's fresh, it's new. I mean, the Egg Bowl is
Hmm.
going to be huge this year. I mean, who would have ever thought that? I mean, who would have ever thought
Yep.
um, that we'd all be talking about the Egg Bowl. So I think it's kind of cool. It's something different. They both had impressive wins. Against Texas A&M and in Auburn. So, but it's just very. To me, it's kind of cool because it's just so different. I mean, I know that's like kind of oversimplifies it, but just to look at the top, it's not a traditional Texas, USC, Ohio State, Notre Dame type situation, Alabama. It's just too random. I mean, Mississippi State. It's kind of cool.
Now, Ole Miss has already played Bama, so they've already set their mark. They still have LSU and Auburn, and what is essentially a bye week with Presbyterian, then Arkansas, and then Mississippi State. So, I mean, on the surface, it looks like Ole Miss has a quote unquote easier road because Mississippi State still has to play Bama.
hmm Yeah, and I would agree. And I mean, and I think of the two teams, Ole Miss has the better defense too. And I think when that's always uh, something that is great to fall back on. Although Wallace can be a little inconsistent at times, I
Hmm.
think of the two teams, Prescott is the better quarterback. But I think you're right, definitely. Just looking at Saban, Saban did not seem happy the last couple weeks, so he'll definitely that'll be a different Alabama team that Mississippi State will get in the next couple weeks. I, I
Right.
would I would think so. But yeah, that's nice. That's nice to always have Alabama in the rearview mirror if you're Mississippi.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Now, those other teams that are in the top five play this weekend. Notre Dame travels to Florida State. Notre Dame. We were talking before the show a little bit that they they made their mark with that Michigan game, but I mean, I don't think they've been that. To me, they haven't been that impressive. And although they are number five, this just has a feel of a game that they're just going to get blown out by Florida State. What are your thoughts on this game?
I agree. I think they're going to have to clean it up. I mean, they've had 10 turnovers in the last three games. I mean, they're not going to be able to do that against Florida State. It's easy to turn the ball over against North Carolina and still be able to make up ground. And even Stanford to an extent, because Stanford doesn't have a real high-powered offense. And they came away with two games there. They had one possession wins. Um, I don't think you can do that against Florida State. I think they're going to have to tighten it up. So I think if they come out and they play the same way, it could definitely be a blowout. But at times, Florida State's been sloppy and let teams play, and
Hmm.
as well. So, is this going to be a situation where they kind of pull it together? Are they seem to kind of play down to the level of sometimes, like when they played North Carolina State, but then they came back crushed Wake Forest, and then we always have the traveling show of the Jameis Winston sideshow. So
Yes, and which you bring. I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I wanted to go. Is with all of the off-field issues with Mr. Winston. Um, the most recent with the autographs, the signed autographs, authentication. I'm tired of hearing about it, so I'm not gonna give a whole entire synopsis of it. But there's one thing after another. Number one, they are the defending champs. He is the current Heisman Trophy. He won the Heisman Trophy last year, so it's not surprising that there is more scrutiny. But could could I want to make sure I phrase this right? Could Jimbo Fisher use this as a rallying point for them to combined with the fact that they're not number one anymore? They're number two in AP and USA Today polls. Use all of this as a us against the world kind of rallying cry for not just this game,
I,
but for the rest of the season.
I mean, I could see that. And Winston, I mean, I'll say this, for all the off-field craziness that he has going on, he amazingly is able to shut it out and walk on the field, and he plays well. So I think, and they're at Florida State. I think that's a
Yep.
big, they're walking in, they're not going into a hostile environment on Saturday night. So I think they can take that us against the world. They'll be on their own turf, and they can kind of come out and just, with their attitude and just, I do agree. I think that they'll have kind of a chip on their shoulder, and and obviously, like, Notre Dame always kind of has the clean-cut good guy of all the teams to be playing. In light of everything, it's Notre Dame. So
Well, wasn't Notre Dame? Wasn't it just this past week where it was announced that two of their players, I forget their names, I'm horrible with names anyways, two of their players that had been suspended, they for sure won't be back with the rest of the team. Wasn't it two of them?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
I remember one of the last name was Daniels, and I can't remember the.
I know.
But yes, they were
We're
gone.
not paid to
They're
know
gone.
names on this show. We're not paid to know
No.
names on this show. We're not
They
paid
haven't
to know
played all-
anything on this show.
No, they haven't played all year, so. Um,
But they're
yeah.
for sure not coming back. So it's not like
No.
totally
Yeah.
clean, but
Sure.
yeah, it's the good old Catholic school. Yes,
Yeah.
I grew up around Catholics. I understand that, and I am in the same town as a Jesuit school. So yeah, I get that very much so.
I married into a Notre Dame family, so.
Oh, and here I thought you were big in Utah, which is
No.
not Catholic.
No, and I have to go to a wedding, and so they'll probably be ducking out to watch this game on Saturday. So.
Which we will discuss that game later. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm glad I get to go to another game this weekend. Another Eastern Washington game.
Oh, nice.
They were
Awesome.
off last weekend, or no, they weren't off. They were at Southern Utah. I forget.
Oh.
Somebody in the Big Sky. They were on the road. They won. Their star quarterback Vernon Adams broke his foot. Remember how on our last show where I said I'm so excited I finally get to go see a game after a month of no games, because Eastern was gone the entire September and I was getting to go to a game and cover that game. Eastern Washington, Vernon Adams played the entire fourth quarter with a broken foot.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was hopping, he was running, he was throwing, and yeah, it was a broken foot. So he's out 3 to 6 weeks, and so their redshirt sophomore quarterback Jordan West filled in ably last week, but they've got Montana coming into town next month, so that'll be a good game. Anyways, sorry. That's our FCS talk for the day.
That's your Big Sky report.
That's your FCS talk. But they are still number 2 ranked behind three-time defending champion North Dakota. So there we go. See, I always have to get the West Coast something in the show, Nick.
Well, we cover it. That's why it's crossing routes. It's crossing the country. So
Oh, is that why?
there you
Yay!
go.
I have been enlightened. Thank you, Nick. Getting
There you go.
Getting back to Division 1A football, FBS football, whatever you want to call it. Getting back to that top five, I don't know how I got onto Eastern Washington, but okay, whatever. That's how I roll. Getting back to that top five, because we know for sure at least one of the teams will have a loss after this weekend. That's obvious because Florida State, Notre Dame. So we currently have 6 teams in the FBS that are undefeated. One of them will lose this weekend. We got rid of the BCS. We now have the college football playoff. I even wrote about it. You've been studying it a lot. It's not just the rank. They're not just looking at rankings. They're not just looking at records. They're going to look at strength of schedule. They're going to look at head-to-head. There's a lot of things that the College Football Playoff Committee is going to be looking at. At number 24 in the USA Today poll, 25 in the AP poll, is Marshall, the Thundering Herd. They are 6-0, Nick.
And they're probably going to be put in the same situation as the Utahs, the Hawaiis, and all their predecessors, where they will probably get to go to, if it works out, to a bigger bowl, and that will be what they'll get to go to.
Probably like the Fiesta Bowl or something.
Yeah, the Fiesta Bowl seems to be the home for, and that's probably the best they're going to be able to do. Because right now, because we were talking about is like Mississippi and Mississippi State are going to play each other, so we'll lose one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that would leave us with Baylor, possibly Florida State. So we could have possibly 3, which they're going to probably hope that there's 3 because make a lot of people's job easier. But
here's the question, though. When you look at the schedules of Mississippi State, Notre Dame, and who was the other one I was looking at? And Baylor down the road, they could very well have 1 or even 2 losses, Nick.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think.
And then there's Marshall sitting there with 0. What if all these other teams just keep beating each other up, and they have 0, they shoot up the rankings, and can you still shut them out if these other teams have 2 losses? Because that could happen. It really could happen, when you look at the schedules.
Yeah, because Baylor Baylor has West Virginia this week, which they could lose this week. Then they have the Oklahomas and Kansas State, so they could easily lose. I look at that; they could lose 3. I'm not, and they're a good team. I'm just saying. That's a tough schedule. That's. Yeah, I don't see Marshall. I see them getting shut out. Unfortunately for them, the system's still not going to allow them in. Because then I think it'll become we get to the end of the season and you kind of the campaigning.
Exactly, and it'll be just like the BCS, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be our body of work, our schedule, our conference is tougher. It'll become all of those arguments will become. You didn't play anybody. We play in the tougher conference, and Marshall, which doesn't get on national TV, plays a lot of their games on I think the CBS Sports Network. Just doesn't get a lot of big. Their end of their schedule. They play Florida International, Florida Atlantic, Southern Mississippi. They're Rice, UAB, and Western Kentucky. They're probably going to run the table. That's my guess. So.
That's a murder.
Yeah. And they haven't had a game where they've scored under 44 or 42 points. And they're beating teams 15, 41, 40. 40, 31, 42. I mean, so they're crushing they're doing what they're supposed to do, but yeah, I mean there's really nothing
I'm just
they can
hoping
really
for
probably do.
more losses by all the big teams. You know, 2 losses, well, except for Oregon or a Pac-12 team, of course. But I'm hoping for all these other teams to just beat each other up and let Marshall just be sitting there, watch him vault into number 5 or whatever, and hear the debate, which has been just a rehashing of all of the BCS arguments we've heard over the last year when people media especially were crying for a playoff, and we'll say there's your playoff.
Yeah, and you'll have the same thing that you've had, except, and then we'll start talking about how we need 8 teams.
Yep. Just turn it into we'll call it December Madness or something.
I mean, there's just, I mean, I think 4 is too, I mean, my own personal opinion is 4, there's too much parity in college football to try to narrow this down to 4. This isn't the 80s when you had 6 or 7 teams in the country, and then, you could have like 2 or 3 undefeated, and you could place them. I mean, there's just too many programs that weren't very good, 20, 30 years, with scholarships being spread out and everything. It's just, Baylor was not a good program, 20, 30 years ago. Now they're good. The Mississippis, I mean, Oregon, they're all good programs now. They weren't good programs, in the 80s, but now they all, and so it's just hard to narrow it down to 4. I mean, I wouldn't want to be on that committee because you're not gonna win for losing on that program.
Yeah, we have 12 days before their first set of rankings comes out. I believe it'll be shown on ESPN on October 28th, kind of like when they did the BCS special or whatever you want to call it. It'll be on ESPN on that day. But anyways, I do want to get to the Heisman. We did mention Jameis. I believe there is some sort of a clause, or I think it was raised about Manziel, although that went out the window, about off the field, if you will, off the field behavior, how you represent yourself as well. So that may or may not preclude him from Jameis from a repeat. My Heisman's, not that I have a vote, is still Mariota, but Dak Prescott is right there. And we were talking before, and if for those of you that are listening, you need to follow, if you really want to know what's going on with Heisman voters, check out at Heisman Pundit on Twitter. Heisman Pundit, Pundit. That's Chris Houston. He's worked at CBS Sports and other outlets, and he usually has a pretty good gauge of what Heisman voters are thinking. Do you still have what he has on his site most recently, Nick?
Yeah, he has Prescott as first, and he had 7 first place votes. Mariota was second with 3 first place votes. It was really close, 25 points, 21. So that's pretty much. And then third is Melvin Gordon, who's really moved up in the last few weeks.
And that's who I wanted to pick your brain on that one, because I don't know. Yes, my West Coast bias. I don't know a whole lot about Melvin Gordon. I try not to watch Wisconsin games because they're not exciting enough for me. But I'm sorry, Big Ten people. I'm sorry. That's just, when you're raised on Pac-12 football, that's just kind of how it goes. Tell me about Melvin Gordon, and what is he doing that is moving him up in the eyes of Heisman voters, Nick?
Yeah, he's kind of like that traditional like Wisconsin running back that has, they've had like, I mean, obviously like Ron Dane. They've had a lot of different guys throughout the years who, recently James White. They've always had that, put up big numbers. But this year, he's averaging almost 8 yards a carry. He already has 1,000 yards. He's only had 1 game under 100 yards, and that was the second game of the year when they pretty much just took him out when they blew out Western Illinois. He only had 38 yards, and that was right after the LSU game.
Hmm.
But in the last few weeks, like against Northwestern, he had 259 yards. Against Bowling Green, he had 253. I mean, I'll say this: he's moved up the draft boards as well. He's like one of the top 4 running backs. But the argument could also be made. He's put some big numbers up. He was impressive against LSU, but we've kind of seen what LSU has become. But he's put up 253 against Bowling Green, 181 against South Florida, 259 against Northwestern, and 175 against Illinois. So, I mean, you know, I mean, not to denigrate or, he's definitely impressive, and throwing up, averaging 8 yards a carry regardless is
Yeah.
impressive. But it'll be interesting as the season progresses as they play some of the other teams they play throughout their schedule. If he can keep that rate up, so 8 yards a carry is pretty insane.
There was an interesting name put out there, and I'm going to keep my eye on it. I don't know if you saw, was it a 100-yard return or was it a 100-yard fumble return by Washington's Shaq Thompson?
I
Uh,
did see that, yeah.
he's kind of like a sleeper, I think, in the Heisman race. I still think it's Mariota, uh, first and foremost, not because of my bias, Nick, not because of my bias, but just because even in that loss to Arizona, he still did what it took. He still did everything he could to get his team that win. He doesn't play on the defense, so obviously
No.
he wasn't gonna stop Arizona's offense. But he's doing everything on the field. He's playing like a leader. He's playing like the best player, and he's keeping it clean off the field.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that, especially in recent years. I think even dating back to the Reggie Bush when they took the trophy back, I think there's a lot to be said. They may not come out and say that, but they don't really want the award. I mean, I think the award is not going to go to somebody that they feel is not representative of. You have a lot of old school writers and voters on
Yeah,
these things
that's
too
it.
that feel that a player should act to have a certain decorum. They're not used to some of the flash and whatnot. And Johnny Manziel kind of broke through and but you never see them get the opportunity to repeat. And I think there's part of that is it's almost like we're not going to let you repeat. So,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Not
we're
since.
gonna keep Archie Griffin as the only repeat, and that's it. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Um, Oregon is. We were discussing Mariota, discussing Oregon. That's going to be one of my sleeper games. But before we get to that, what are some of the big games you're looking forward to this weekend?
I mean, like you said, I think in the Big 12 there's some interesting games. I think it's kind of interesting how that conference is just kind of we had this conference was almost dead a few years ago, and all of a sudden people are arguing with it. So, and there's Kansas State at Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma. I think that'll
Yep.
be an interesting game. I think
Yep.
Oklahoma State at TCU. We got to see how TCU can rebound from that
Oh,
wild game
oh,
against Baylor. I
that was a
mean,
heartbreak. I don't even care. I didn't even care about either team. It was just heartbreaking to see TCU just. They were up 11 at one point, weren't they? Late
yeah,
in the game,
yeah,
and oh man, yeah.
yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot of scoreboards exploding because I know like the Baylor West Virginia game. I think that's going to be interesting with Clint Trickett going against Bryce Petty. I mean that should put up some crazy numbers too. So I think that some Big 12 football. If you're into like a lot of numbers, I think there should be some fun football in that league this weekend. So there's my plug for the Big 12.
I know. I was just gonna tweet that recording a podcast with Nick. Scoreboards exploding. I like that. Big 12, where scoreboards explode.
Yeah. Yeah, they need something like the Mac. They need like Mac. They have Maction. They need something like Big 12 needs. They need a hashtag. I mean,
Something.
yeah.
Okay, so my Scoreboard's exploding, man. If we could get a sound effect of that, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be.
Stick it in the podcast here. Good segue to say if you can subscribe to us on iTunes for the crossing routes. We are on iTunes. We are on SoundCloud, but we'll have more on that later. My big games, other than tonight, like I said, Utah, Oregon State. That should be a fun one. I like that. I like that one a lot. Utah's surprising in the Pac-12 South. They are right in it. They are right in that one. What else? You said Kansas State, Oklahoma, A&M, and Alabama.
Yeah, I mean that'll be interesting. Alabama was pretty sloppy last week, and so that'll be interesting to kind of see how they rebound after last week just eking it out against Arkansas. So
Yes.
14-13, and Saban was not happy. So I would expect. They only ran the ball for 66 yards, so I would expect they'll have a little crisper offense this week. So.
You would think so, and the fans better not get upset with them. I guess.
No,
I was
exactly.
I was listening to some. I think he was mad at the fans for being mad.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Fans are never satisfied. I don't think.
No, and I mean, that going into especially somewhere like Alabama. So.
I have 3 sleeper games. I don't know what you have, Nick, but I have 3 sleeper games. 2 I think I might be able to get to see because there's another Eastern Washington game, like I said. Stanford at Arizona State. It's a sleeper game because it'll depend on if Taylor Kelly plays or not. If Taylor Kelly is playing, although Nick Berkovici has played well in his absence, starting quarterback Taylor Kelly's absence. If Kelly comes back, I will be interested to see how well he matches up against that tough, nasty Stanford defense, and if they can run on them with DJ Foster. Also, Washington and Oregon. Just the I-5 matchup. These two teams do not like each other. No, fans hate each other. They hate. It's like a bike. It's probably not as passionate, but it's as passionate as you can get in the Pac-12 with severe dislike. Let's put it that way. But that one will be fun to see how well Mariota does against an underrated Washington defense. We talked about Shaq Thompson earlier, and then your neck of the woods, 5-1 Rutgers at number 13 Ohio, an improving Ohio State team.
Yeah, no, and I think Rutgers has started off. Rutgers has a really good defensive line. They've gotten 24 sacks, and the Ohio State offense has been kind of picking up. I mean, 66, 50, and 52 points the last 3 weeks, so. Should be interesting. So, still weird to think of that as a Big Ten matchup, Rutgers at Ohio State.
I know. So. I was doing some stuff at work, and I was looking at Maryland, and it's like, oh yeah, Big Ten. They're in the Big Ten. It just seems so weird, but
yeah,
that's our day and age of college football. Do you have any sleeper games, Nick?
I think you covered them all. I mean, like there's really, I think I don't know if I would call it sleeper. I think in the Big Ten, I think it's interesting, is on that Western Division, which is kind of a mess, is the fact that Nebraska and Northwestern is a big game, which most people would have thought Nebraska, but right now the two of the leaders are Minnesota sits atop of it right now. I mean, so that should speak volumes. Minnesota and Iowa right now are at the top, are the leaders. So, so I think you covered pretty much the games. I think out west, like as a non-Power 5 conference game, I think Utah State at Colorado State game is kind of an interesting. And Utah State's kind of overcome the loss of Chucky Keaton, and so that's kind of if you're looking for a game that's just kind of a non-Power 5 game that might be a little entertaining. I think that's a. And I always like to fall back on like when I lived in Utah. So
I was gonna say
my friends in Logan.
Utah peeps again, you and your Utah peeps.
I know, I know. Aggies. This is like your Aggie Ute and Cougar report. I just need to like shove in like some little like Southern Utah like the Thunderbirds,
Oh,
break
see,
down their
that's
offense.
who Eastern Washington played. That's who Eastern Washington played, and they beat them so not fairly handily in Jordan West's first start. Okay, so see, I threw it. I knew I'd throw in some more FCS talk just because. All
So
right,
we're covering like that that mountain area like the Intermountain, Rocky Mountains.
Rocky Mountain High, John
Yep.
Denver. You know,
Yep.
boy, if we had rights to a John Denver song, I'd start playing John Denver, and we'd just fade into the sunset with this show. Scoreboards exploding.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how they explode in the Big 12 this week.
Exactly. Well, so what are you headed to the game this weekend then?
No, I am actually headed to a wedding.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You did say that. See, we were talking about Catholic weddings. I grew up going to Catholic weddings. I mean, I'm Hispanic, so yeah, you know how that goes. Hail Mary,
Yeah.
so to speak. See, Hail
But
Mary.
this yep. This is where like the beauty of technology will come in handy. So
Will you, will your wife be watching with you, or will she not be happy with you?
she knows that I'll be watching a little bit, and then we did get a kick out of it because at first I always complain about weddings that are in the fall. I always think I always complain of how inconsiderate that is with my schedule, like enjoying college football, that somebody would actually plan a wedding in the fall.
Oh, it's all about you, Nick. Oh,
so
Jerry.
so after we went through that, I thought there was a lot of irony because her family is all Notre Dame fans. So then I kind of like, oh, guess what? They have an 8 o'clock game, and then they also plan a wedding. And I said karma. So,
What time is the wedding?
I think it's late though.
Oh,
I don't know actually. I don't know. I don't know details. I just know it's there's part of it that's running into the Ohio State game. I do know that.
when the wife says, you're a typical guy. When the wife says it's time to go, you go.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. So.
What else is going on before we head on out, Nick? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that's about it. No, no. For as far as games, I'll get to go. We usually, like I think I mentioned in the last podcast, we usually go down to see some MAC games. So we're going next weekend. We're gonna go see Toledo play UMass. UMass isn't really that good, but I always like going down. Then we have some of the Toledo. We have some MAC weeknight games, which those are always fun because you never know what's going to happen. Those turn crazy.
Well, there was Fun Belt this past. We had a return to Tuesday night football, and it was Fun Belt this past week.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, because yeah, I like it when those games start coming on. It gives you something in the middle of the week to watch. They're fun. So.
Yeah, I've hardly watched any of the playoffs, so yeah, I was happy with that. Next Tuesday,
Yeah.
Arkansas State at Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, it's like you get that and you get the max. So I mean, so it's fun. So and then it gets you ready for the week. So
All right, tell everybody, Nick, where they can find you, either in the social media sphere or wherever in the heck you're writing these days.
all right, you can catch me on my website at thesportsavant.com and also on Twitter at npaulenich at NPAULENICH. So and that's where I am.
Alrighty, and I am Sunny Cadwallader, better known as Cad Chica, on just about every social media platform the major ones that you can think of. No, I'm not on Weibo in China, not yet. I mentioned it earlier. I wrote about chaos in college football on my website, cadchicasports.com. And I'm looking forward to the Eastern game. I'm looking forward to a lot more college football. college basketball rankings just came out this past week. I'm excited about that too, Nick. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there.
Well,
Because,
I'm excited about. I've been watching preseason NBA, so I'll admit that I'm a Cavs fan. So.
ugh.
Yeah.
Well, Arizona is ranked number 2, preseason number 2, right behind Kentucky. So I am pretty excited about that. Bear down, fear the fork for Arizona State, and hopefully, I don't know what's gonna. It may be another 2 weeks. We may just keep this whole 2 week thing. Gives us more stuff to talk about. But thanks everyone for joining us on the Crossing Routes show.